welcome. This is a very exciting morning and afternoon. There are two wonderful people I'd like to welcome this morning. Will Crutchfield, who has really made his mark in the world of music and made that unbelievable transition from critic to conductor. Will has taught here at Juilliard. He is certainly one of the most knowledgeable people we have about voice and singing technique, and a real authority on bel canto. Also, he is now the opera director at the Caramore Festival, and we are really thrilled to have Will Crutchfield with us today. The other person, if I started going into the long list of achievements, it would be just impossible to finish even by midnight. She is my very, very dear friend. We've had the unique possibility to sing some marvelous things together, to create a little bit of stir in the world, and to remain dear, dear friends. And what can I say? I mean, this is truly one of the great ladies of the world, but no question, one of the greatest voices, not of just this century, but of all time. One of the greatest singers, the great Joan Sutherland.
Feast ahead of us of talk about vocal technique with two singers who know what they're talking about in terms of vocal technique. And I'm just here to keep things hopping from topic to topic and prompt them with questions. So the first question is this. Dame Joan Sutherland began her career singing lowish soprano music and even some mezzo-soprano music, and gradually trained and reoriented the voice upwards. Marilyn Horne began singing a mix of soprano and mezzo-soprano music and gradually reoriented her repertoire downwards. So my question for each of you is, how does a young singer determine what's the most favorable range to be working in? And is it a matter of nature, and you have to discover that nature, or is it a matter of choice? Shall we start with Dame Joan?
Well, I think probably I was working very much in the middle of the voice and trying to get an even line throughout such a range as I thought I had. I think that the higher register of the voice was there, but I was too afraid to use it. And I don't know, I think that you have to wait until you see how you mature, how the voice accepts what it is doing. And I think it's very dangerous for young singers to sing too heavy roles too soon. I had that fault, but I was always able to sing lightly in the house, in the upper register, but it was a matter of working and finding out, I think, by doing scales and exercises and realizing, along with my husband listening to me, you need someone to listen to you, I think, as well. And he said, you know, you've got the high voice there, why don't you work to use it? And it wasn't a matter of forcing the voice or straining, but doing gentle work and actually trying to bridge the gap between that more middle register and the upper register. I think that you have to use caution about moving from one position to another, one thinking you're a mezzo and becoming a coloratura soprano, or in Jackie's case, being a soprano and then exploring the lower register. I think it's something you have to sense yourself. I don't think it just happens. You have to work on it, but you have to feel where the real centre of your voice is, don't you?
Over to you.
Well, I think sometimes we are really lucky if certain accidents happen to us too. It's singing and life are very strange at times, but there are certain guide rules that one has to respect down through the ages, and Joan just mentioned a couple of them, which was, you know, mainly not to sing heavy rolls too soon. Now, that being said, I absolutely agree, but I'm one of the victims who did not. I can't say victim because I didn't hurt myself.
Likewise.
Doing these heavy rolls when I was quite young. But this is the main thing that I have to say, and that is that you really must, and I say must, get your technique solidly working before you embark on a career, because there are several things that'll happen. You will keep dealing with the problems that you have vocally. You will keep magnifying them, and they won't get better, because you'll constantly be in front of the public trying to produce and obviously be successful. The other thing is that you really should know that once the technique is solid, all of the other stuff will go so much faster. It will fall into place, and you will go to auditions and you will be hired. A lot of people just keep slugging it out and going to audition after audition, audition, and not being hired very much of the time. And that's really important to remember. I'm just digressing a little bit, but I have to say that I started so young as a singer, and I know Joan sang also when she was very young, that, I mean, there's no question about being a mezzo, you know, when you're 5 years old. And because I had the easy extension on the top and just kept singing in that register, so it was just assumed that I was a soprano. And I also have always had this certain brightness to my voice. And when the chest register arrived, and I will say arrived, because I did nothing to gain it. This sounds pretty easy, I know, but in fact it was. But I was singing all the time as a soprano, but around the age of 15, when puberty, you know, is just going wild, you know, non so più cosa son, cosa faccio. I just suddenly had an entire, you know, 8 notes, 6 to 8 notes on the bottom of my voice. They just were there, but I didn't use them. I just would sort of fool around with them and, sing them still in a very soprano way and everything.
Well,
so,
that's what I was doing with the top. Fooled around, so my husband said, aha!
All things come to those who wait.
So, but the main thing is when the decision-making time comes, when you're in your late 20s, and you really have to. Would you say late 20s is about the time, Joan?
Yes. Yeah. Mid-20s.
Right, mid to late 20s, and you really have to start to decide. Well, because of opera, this has nothing to do with recital singing. Recital singing, basically, you can sing things in the keys you want to sing them in, and one should always be comfortable in this kind of singing. We'd like you to be comfortable all the time, but then that's when you really have to decide, and there are a few rules, like, am I comfortable singing this way for many hours and not feeling tired, not feeling like my strength has eroded, like my vocal cords are starting to feel raw? That's a very big thing. So we get to the question of tessitura, which we know that means where the general part lies. And if you cannot sustain that easily, then you've got to really decide, should I go up, should I go down? What's the problem with this, sustaining this tessitura? And there's where the line can be very fine, and especially, I would say, with mezzo-sopranos and sopranos. It's very, very difficult to decide exactly where to go.
There's grist for about 20 more topics in the answers you've already given. Let me pluck one out.